Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks
That's
that.
what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about everything that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want to yell at everybody.
And he's completely... Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Who told him that was a good idea?
And then he starts...
Robert De Niro, the man who built a career on quiet intensity and menacing glares, has become something else entirely. The actor who could command a scene without saying a word, who embodied the cool, calculated danger of the American gangster, is now a walking, shouting caricature of himself. His biggest role today isn't on screen, it's on cable news, where he's traded his cinematic mystique for the hollow outrage of a political pundit. But when two of the biggest names in media, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, turned their attention to his latest performance, they didn't just criticize him. They conducted a public autopsy on a living legend, and what they exposed was more shocking than any movie script.
What about the garbage outside today? Robert De Niro, officially sent by the Biden campaign, makes himself look like an idiot and reminds us why Trump is so popular.
It's so stupid. It was colossally stupid. If you're going to send somebody to go speak outside of the Trump trial, make it someone who's universally beloved, like a Michelle Obama. You know, she's not universally loved. She's not loved on the right. But I'm saying, like, at least within the left and the center left, and maybe even some center righties. Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome.
It all started outside a Manhattan courthouse. In a move that left political strategists and movie fans equally baffled, the Biden campaign dispatched Robert De Niro to deliver a statement. But this wasn't a presidential address or a policy announcement. It was a bizarre spectacle. There he was, the star of Raging Bull, looking less like a heavyweight champion and more like a disgruntled grandpa yelling at kids to get off his lawn. Instead of a captive audience, he was met with a chorus of hecklers and jeers. The tough guy image he'd spent decades perfecting crumbled in minutes, replaced by the sight of a furious, flustered 80-year-old man losing a shouting match with random people on the street. It was a PR stunt that went so wrong, it became a masterclass in what not to do, and the world was watching.
Yelling at regular people. He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Go fuck you. Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy
what?
from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what also I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery, and your eyes are going, right? You ever see old people's text messages? The fucking text on their phone is like as big as my hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so your vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively, and then you're getting old, and when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation, and you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion, let's see where we have common ground. Get off my lawn. And that's what he's doing. He's being this old grumpy man that is so lost that he thinks it's a good idea to stand in front of a bunch of people on the street and give a speech on camera about how bad Donald Trump is.
Enter Joe Rogan, a man who treats celebrity egos like a heavy bag in a gym. Rogan's reaction wasn't a partisan attack. It was one of pure, unadulterated confusion. He looked at De Niro's public meltdown and diagnosed him with a terminal case of Trump derangement syndrome. To Rogan, this wasn't about political conviction. It was about an old man whose vision of the world was literally and figuratively blurring. He painted a picture of someone so lost in their own rage that they genuinely believe standing on a street corner and screaming about politics is a noble act. Rogan pointed out that when old men get tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen, with no room for debate. De Niro wasn't starting a conversation. He was demanding obedience, and it was painful to watch.
Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome. He's one of those, I'm moving to Canada if he wins, and he's never going to leave the White House if he wins. We're going to have Trump forevermore. I mean, hello, I hate to break it to you because I realize you're advanced age too, Robert, but people die. So he will leave. One way or the other, he's going to go. And in the not too distant future, even if Trump says he shouldn't have to. But in any event, he didn't do that the last time, Paul. Can you really picture a scenario in which Trump is more determined to hold on to power than he was at the last time in 2020, going into 2021? And what did he do ultimately? He left.
But Rogan's takedown was more than just mockery. It was an exploration of the celebrity bubble. He theorized that De Niro is surrounded by nothing but Hollywood phonies, living in a bizarre world where everyone agrees with him, and his grasp on reality has become dangerously slippery. In this echo chamber, no one dares to pull him aside and say, "Bobby, buddy, don't do this. You're a legend. You're in The Godfather. Don't ruin it all by becoming this shrieking mess." Rogan wasn't just laughing at an angry actor. He was pitying a man who had become so isolated by his own fame that he was actively dismantling the very legacy that made him an icon. The man who played Travis Bickle was now the one everyone was staring at, wondering what the DMN was wrong with him.
Why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about this publicly?
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
If you're going to come out and say that you have a really deep-seated hatred for one of the two people running for president, you can't just be, he's a bully, he's a piece of shit, I hate him.
He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has.
You probably, if you're going to express yourself about it and alienate 50% of the country, which it seems like it is, you're going to have to do better than that. You should have some specific things. Like he did some real estate deals with people in New York. Let me tell you what he did to people over.
I would love to hear it.
He did this and that. Let me tell you what he did that was fraud. He did this and that.
And just when you thought the roast was over, Megyn Kelly entered the chat. If Rogan's approach was a bewildered, open-field tackle, Kelly's was that of a media sniper. She didn't bring sarcasm. She brought receipts and a rhetorical scalpel sharp enough to dissect an ego from 100 yards away. While Rogan wondered why De Niro was doing this, Kelly focused on how colossally stupid the entire affair was from a strategic standpoint. She looked at the man sent by the Biden campaign and saw a political liability, a figure so deeply polarizing that he only served to remind people why they supported Trump in the first place. To her, this wasn't just a personal meltdown, it was a political disaster.
So Robert De Niro, who's got a severe case of the TDS, is in conference right now, as all of the muckety-mucks are. And he's very unhappy about what Trump is doing to try to keep filmmaking, American filmmaking, in America by slapping tariffs on foreign-made films so that he can basically try to force people to make them domestically again for the American audience that they're meant to serve. And here's what De Niro said on Tuesday.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute.
Kelly's analysis was devastatingly precise. She didn't need to shout. Her calm, methodical deconstruction was far more effective. She brought up De Niro's past comments, particularly his outrage over Trump's proposed tariffs on foreign-made films. Suddenly, his righteous anger about the future of America seemed tainted with a hint of financial self-interest. Was he fighting for democracy, or was he fighting for Hollywood's bottom line? Kelly laid him out on her commentary table like a failed experiment in celebrity activism. She respected the classics, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, but made it brutally clear that this wasn't about cinema anymore. This was about a man who once whispered, "You talking to me?" now screaming, "Listen to me." at anyone who disagreed with him, and the pivot was not just awkward, it was absurd.
Robert De Niro, there's something about being a star where you think your opinion's more important than anybody else's, and you can go give a press conference, and he obviously has been very vocal from 2016 that he hates Trump for whatever reason. Maybe they have some personal thing.
You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Now he's like holding press conferences. Now everyone's heckling him everywhere he goes.
That's so bad.
Like instead of just being this cranky old liberal, now you're this guy that is yelling at other people that are Trump supporters, and they're yelling at you. Like you've opened yourself up to this nonsense.
What's truly fascinating is that Rogan and Kelly never teamed up. They didn't coordinate or plan a joint attack. They simply observed the same car crash from different viewpoints and arrived at the same inescapable conclusion. Rogan, the cultural commentator, saw a legend aging gracelessly, a classic car spinning its wheels in the driveway. Kelly, the political analyst, saw a powerful man rendered impotent by his own lack of self-awareness. Together, their critiques formed a powerful, unspoken alliance that obliterated De Niro's tough guy persona. They held up a mirror, and the reflection wasn't a gangster or a gritty anti-hero. It was just a cranky old man yelling at people who were yelling right back at him, a cycle of pointless noise he had willingly created.
But De Niro doesn't want to play someone truly evil, you see. At least not a certain someone. Maybe Jimmy was a Democrat. By the way, De Niro is also very upset that Donald Trump is an alleged racist. Wonder if he pulled Jimmy Kimmel aside last night and asked him to atone for his blackface-loving past.
Like, you didn't think this through. Like, this is... And he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a fucking raging bull. You know, you were in The Godfather. Like, Stop doing this. Man. Don't do this.
But what if there's more to this story? What if the rage isn't just about politics? Lurking in the background of this public spectacle are whispers of De Niro's personal life. The actor is currently navigating a notoriously expensive and bitter divorce, a situation that would put immense strain on anyone, let alone a man in his 80s still working to maintain a lavish lifestyle. This adds a layer of tragic speculation to his behavior. Could it be that his public fury is a deflection, a way of channeling immense personal and financial pressure into a political crusade? This possibility reframes his actions from simple political activism to something far more complex and human, a man under siege in his private life, lashing out at the world in the only way he knows how. What happened next only deepened these questions.
No, his movies are very good.
Suck. He's one of the greatest actors. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Brando, blah, blah, blah. But he's a loon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to just say what he is. He has, basically, I describe this to people. You know what's happening now? Because people are aware about concussions and the problems with CTE. When you get hit and you get a dinger in football, they put you in the blue tent, in the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to Democrats. They need to go in the blue tent for a little bit, kind of, get your eyes checked, and then come out and be rational again.
Yeah, cool off
and
a
De
little.
Niro needs to go in the blue tent. I mean, because it's not calming things down. We need to be rational.
Robert De Niro, once a towering figure of cinematic strength.
In the end, Robert De Niro was left raging against an enemy that wasn't there. He wasn't debated. He was dismissed. He wasn't feared. He was pitied. Joe Rogan moved on to talk about Bigfoot, and Megyn Kelly moved on to the next political headline. But the image of De Niro's meltdown lingered. His legacy as one of the greatest actors of all time is secure in film history. But his contemporary reputation has been irrevocably tarnished. The silence from De Niro after these takedowns was deafening. There was no witty comeback, no dignified response. There was only the echo of Rogan's baffled laughter and Kelly's cool, clinical verdict. The real tragedy here isn't that a celebrity has a political opinion. It's that an icon, a master of subtlety and strength, willingly traded his powerful silence for empty, desperate noise, leaving everyone to wonder if this angry, chaotic performance is the final, most revealing role of his career.
What De Niro project needs friends as research?
Looking for cast. I don't know. I'm just checking.
What De Niro projects are even around? I mean, well, De Niro's probably trying to figure out where all his money's going because he's getting divorced right now. So he's probably, he's getting divorced.